In today's world, depression, anxiety, and addiction plague our population. But what if I told you there was a way to escape all of this? What if I told you that there was potential for the treatment of all of these conditions? Well, the answer is simple: drugs. Now, hold on. Before you go all Breaking Bad on me, I'm not talking about going out and buying heroin or meth. I'm talking about real substances with real potential that are also real illegal. I'm talking about psychedelics. DMT, psilocybin, and magic mushrooms, LSD, and mescaline are typically considered the classic psychedelics. These substances are among the most powerful and unique in the world, with the ability to cause some pretty groovy auditory and visual hallucinations. Experiences with psychedelics are typically described to be deeply introspective, with many claiming to undergo a so-called dissolution of the ego. So how do they work? To understand psychedelics, we must go down to the molecular level, as the answer lies in their chemistry.
The chemical structure of psychedelics is remarkably similar to that of serotonin, a neurotransmitter in our brain responsible for the regulation of mood and sleep. Under normal circumstances, serotonin acts as a communicator, sending signals from neuron to neuron and instructing them to fire. This process begins when the cell first receives neurotransmitter molecules through the dendrites. These molecules then bind to receptors, causing a chemical imbalance that triggers an action potential to race down the cell and release neurotransmitters on the other end, further relaying the signal. Similarly, when psychedelics make their way up to our brain, their unique chemical structure allows them to bind to serotonin receptors, causing neurons to fire irregularly and brain activity to skyrocket. To better understand the effects, let's take a look at a model.
This is your sober mind. Every thumbtack represents a part of the brain and every string a connection. Now this is your brain on psychedelics. During this time of increased brain activity, millions of connections are formed, allowing for parts of the brain previously foreign to each other to be in lively conversation. With these connections in mind, researchers are now investigating the potential use of psychedelics for the long-term rewiring of our brain. Although funding is scarce and samples are limited, early results for the use of psychedelics in the treatment of psychological conditions are very promising, as studies have shown them to be effective in cases of anxiety and depression. Researchers have also found potential for psychedelics as by far the most effective smoking cessation treatment ever recorded. To understand the unprecedented effectiveness of psychedelic treatment, let's look at an analogy.
Think of your mind as a snow-covered hill and thoughts are sled racing down it, each pressing its own path into the snow. As time passes and actions are repeated, sleds begin to converge, making paths that are deeper and deeper until they are nearly impossible to escape. If these paths are feeding a bad habit like anxiety or an addiction, psychedelics could be the snowfall needed for your sleds to explore new paths.
Now, before you go around searching for LSD in the sketchy corner of your neighborhood, we must keep in mind that there are real dangers to using these drugs. We are only currently in the beginning stages of testing with these drugs, and until we know more about them, they remain not only unsafe for unsupervised consumption, but also highly illegal in almost every part of the world. If we do proceed with caution, however, the potential for these drugs is undeniable. With increased study and loosened government restrictions, who knows what else we'll be able to find in this untapped world of hallucinogenic drugs. This could just be the next great breakthrough in medicine.